Welcome to the OVW podcast, the unofficial podcast of Ohio Valley Wrestling. I'm Jack Minogues, joined today, as always, by my co-host, Brian Hines.
Hey, folks, how are you?
It is a Thursday in the feed today. We are joined, usually on Thursdays we have a special guest. We have a very special guest today, one half of the OVW Tag Team champions, former OVW Heavyweight Champion. Am I missing anything there? Hardest chop in the world?
Hardest chop in the world, former OVW National Heavyweight Champion.
Okay. So, cash flow.
How you guys doing?
Welcome. Thank you so much for having time for us today.
I see you talking awfully nice to me, Brian. Are you sure you don't want me to chop you?
At some point, maybe, but today is not that day.
Oh,
Other Brian, maybe. I can't speak for him, but I'll speak for myself.
Yeah, he's got an awful big chest to chop. That's fun, though.
That's true. A lot of real estate.
Hey, cash smash.
Since we're on the topic of chops, you are known for your chops. You're a great wrestler, in general. But you have this special skill. Where did you learn to chop? When did you realize you were good at chopping?
What is good at chopping? I mean, I don't know.
I was hoping you could tell me.
I've been doing it a long time. Lots of practice, Jackman. Lots of practice. Practice makes perfect. That's why I teach here. I try to get these guys practice.
How long have you been in the wrestling industry?
I broke into professional wrestling in 1997.
Do you remember where your first match was?
I do, and I remember who my first match was. I will never forget it because he beat the holy crap out of me.
Oh, no.
Where was it and who was it?
I don't like to talk about it too much, but everybody has a beginning, so I'll go ahead and throw it out there. I got my start at IWA Mid-South. Back in the heat of the ECW days, where hardcore wrestling was all the rave. It was new, it was fresh. Everybody wanted to see blood and guts, and guess what? That's where I started. I was the first student there at IWA Mid-South, and that's where I cut my teeth at, literally.
So you mentioned kind of the ECW boom. IWA was notorious for death matches.
Absolutely.
Did you have any interest in death matches before you broke into the professional wrestling industry at IWA, or?
No, not really. I was mainly a Mid-South guy, and they credit Mid-South wrestling, Southern wrestling with doing a lot of the hardcore type matches, the concession stand brawl, using all kinds of different weapons and stuff like that. Other than Japan, Mid-South was, really big on that type of thing. So I knew, about that type of stuff, but I didn't realize, other than watching, a little bit of Paul Heyman's stuff, I didn't realize that there was an actual, this is what you're going to do. We have what we call four corners of pain. You're going to have cactuses in this corner and rubbing alcohol in this corner. And we're going to have light tubes, and we're going to put you through this big screen TV. I didn't realize all that stuff existed until my feet were in the door. And, hey, why not show how tough I am? Sure. It is wrestling. It's all about tough guys, right?
When you're coming up and you're a younger guy and you're inexperienced, is there a chip on your shoulder to show how tough you are?
There was always a chip. There was always a chip on my shoulder during that time. I was a different person in that time. Of course, everybody's a different person. I've been wrestling almost 27 years. There's nobody in the world, no matter what they do, that they can say that 27 years ago they weren't a different person. Yes, I was a very different person. I was aggravated all the time. I always wanted to prove that I was the toughest guy around. I was the most athletic guy around. I was the guy that needed to be on top and wanted to do all the things. And if I wasn't the guy, I would make sure that I had my hand in making myself the guy. So, I was a different guy back then.
Where do you think that chip on your shoulder came from?
Honestly, it was probably nerves. I was around a bunch of people. My wife always tells me I'm a neurodivergent type of individual, and I may have a little bit of that in me. I didn't know anybody, being around everybody made me always a little skittish. So I needed to get into the mix. Well, guess what? I was coming to be a professional wrestler. What did I know of professional wrestlers? I knew Wahoo McDaniel. I knew Manny Fernandez, all extremely tough guys, Bruiser Brody. And I felt like I needed to be a tough guy. So guess what? I was going to be the toughest guy around.
Can you compare the way you felt at that time versus the way you feel now in OVW?
I finally, after so many years, realized what professional wrestling really was, or what professional wrestling. I mean, it's professional wrestling is the same that it's always been, but you know, there comes a time where being this, as opposed to being what you were in the it's all in levels. It's all in stages. You know, you have certain stages of a professional wrestling career. I'm not what, say, a Cal Hero is now. You know, I don't look at things the same way that he would look at in his stage in his career.
Right.
And it just, over time, you develop an ease about what it is that you do, and you know, you're not so gung ho about things. Right. You know, you try to teach yourself to have as much fun as you possibly can have, because you know, and it's like this in anything in life. You never know when it's going to end, or when you know, when it's time to say, well, all right, my time's up.
Well, and you mentioned kind of wanting to be, in your younger days, be the top guy, be able to do a little bit of everything, always be in the conversation. It seems like now at this stage in your career, you are a little bit more comfortable with giving back. You were talking right before this how you teach classes for OVW several times a week.
That is kind of, in my opinion, if you truly, you know, a lot of guys say they love professional wrestling. This is what they want to do for a living. That is almost, if you are actually that, and you actually live and breathe that. See, this pro wrestling is all I do. Everything pro wrestling. I don't hold another job. I don't make any money anywhere else. Honestly, I don't really even have any side gigs right now. You know, professional wrestling is how I make my living. And if you truly are one of those people that that live and breathe that, the natural evolution for you, you know, as you go on, is to give back. You know, is to help bring up the younger generation, help teach those guys. You know, help, you know, pave the way, teach the guys. You know, help them learn the ropes. You know, make sure they don't try to make the same mistakes that you made coming up. You know, that's just a natural evolution. If you truly believe in love professional wrestling, it's just a natural evolution.
Do you ever look back at your younger days and any lessons that you learned, either whether it be particularly from somebody, and it's something when you're teaching these guys that are just breaking in, something that you want to make sure you instill in them? Is there one specific example of that?
You know, believe it or not, yeah, I've been around a long time, but, you know, I still learn something new every day. You know, working under Al for the past, you know, 7-8 years, or ever how long that you know, I have been. The guy's a fountain of knowledge. You know, he's been at it 40, 50 years. I don't know, somewhere along those lines. And to be able to learn stuff from him, you know, and a lot of those lessons is what I instill in these guys. Now, you know, being able to run the roads, you know, out on the indies like I have, aside from OVW, you know, that is something that I can kind of help navigate with some of these guys. And if they have any questions, you know, I always tell them that I'm accessible, even if, you know, they're 6 classes in and you know, they've already moved on. You know, I still talk to all those guys to this day. I have one guy that just got back from his first tour of Japan. Wow. that I helped train. You know, of course, he's doing all the death matches and stuff like that. So, you know, he would never come here to OVW, but you know, he's doing really well for himself, and it's what he wants to do.
Give him a shout out real quick.
His name is Satu Jin. He does like a genie gimmick. You know, he's heavy. He kind of looks Samoan. You know, he's good. He's picked it up. He's done everything he's needed to do, and I'm super proud of him in his first tour of Japan, and I hope there's many more to come.
Do you have any other students that you have taught that you're like super proud of right now?
All the students that I've taught, they're still running through. They're still running through their classes. They're still trying to cut their feet. You know, I only way back I'd only had a couple students that I had trained from then. Satu, he never came from OVW. This was a previous thing that I had did earlier. All the students that come through OVW, you know, they're still cutting their feet. There's one guy out there. His name's Deputy Dyer. Tyler Lee Deputy, his name. He was doing OVW shows. He come through the OVW ranks here. He's out running the roads right now. You know, he's a good kid. He's picking it up too. So super proud of him.
So here at Davis Arena, whenever you're getting help to your chairs or your people are checking tickets or a variety of other things, it's always trainees that are doing it.
Absolutely.
This past Thursday when I came through, the gentleman checking the tickets said, "Who are you here to see?" And I said, "Oh, pretty much everybody." You know, just which is true for me. No quicker did I say that than he goes, Cash is my teacher. It was just very it was obvious how proud he was to be here and to be
the enthusiasm was there, definitely.
Yeah, and to be learning from you. Do you run into that a lot?
I do. All the students are super, and I'm not an easy dude to get along with. You know, I like to make sure that they learn this stuff right, and I'm very pointed, and I get heated when they don't. But at the same time, I think they pick up on the fact that I take what I do seriously. And there's a lot of people out there that don't do that. And if they pick up on it and they see that the guy that's trying to break them in and help coach them, if I take it seriously, then they understand that they need to take it seriously, because if you don't take it seriously, professional wrestling is one of them things that you are going to get back exactly what you put in.
Yeah.
And, you know, they pay the money to come here. They say that this is what they want to do. Well, if this is what you want to do, then this is how you have to be.
Right.
And I think they pick that up from me. And I think maybe that does make them, you know, make them proud, make them actually want to be here and do what they need to do to succeed. So.
You mentioned you've been at OVW for 8 years?
Let's see, I came back on my last stint in 2016. I was actually here, I did about a year and a half in 2009 and 2010.
Okay.
It was an entirely different ball game. You know, different guys running it. Of course, the original owner was still here, Danny. It was just an entirely different ball game. I had come in on an invasion angle. I was working for Juggalo Championship Wrestling. Or
Whoop whoop.
Championship Wrestling, I think is what it was called then. And I came in with Madman Pondo and Too Tough Tony, and we did like an invasion angle for the clowns. So that, and I ended up outstaying Tony and Pondo. They went on their way shortly after that, and I ended up staying and doing a little small little program with a guy they called Beef Wellington. At that time, right now, you would know him better as Brad. The guy in the video, Brad, he did a general manager at WWE. What is his name? Brad?
Oh, I'm not sure.
He's the one that got hung up in that.
I only watch OVW, Cash.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, he's the one that got hung up in that old video stuff with Paige and Brad Anderson, Brad something.
I couldn't tell you his name, but I'm familiar with the situation.
At that time, he had long hair, and that's who I was feuding with. He was OVW heavyweight champion at that time. So,
what's been the biggest change since you've come back?
Well, I was in the transition period. When I first come back, Al hadn't bought the place.
Because he bought it in 2018?
Somewhere around there, yes. And there was a huge transition period. You know, when I come back, I was totally told that we're not going to be able to do anything with you. You know, we might use you here and there. You know, it was like I was telling you guys earlier. It was kind of a local show for me. So, you know, on Tuesdays or Wednesdays when I was coming through, it was something that I would show up and, you know, Adam would say, well, maybe we'll use you tonight, maybe not. And Josh Ashcraft had the idea of putting me in the Legacy of Brutality.
I wanted to ask you about the Legacy of Brutality.
It was a bunch of friends doing a bunch of friend stuff. You know, I helped train Zoe, and Isaiah. I actually helped Isaiah break in the business. I didn't necessarily train him, but I worked with him quite a bit when he first broke in. It was us three and Josh, and he asked if I wanted to be in it, and I was like, yeah, I'll come get some time on TV, and you know, I guess the rest is LOB history.
Well, and you guys were loved in here towards the end of the LOB.
Yes.
You especially. what has it been like? And now, I mean, even compared to how much you were loved back then, 3, 4, 5 years ago, compared to now, what's it like being told, oh, we might not have a space for you to go in to kind of be in the heart and soul of this place?
I mean, it makes me feel good, but that's just a testament of what I said earlier. You know, you get out what you put in. I've put a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a whole lot of work into making this place, you know. Now, I'm not the only one, but I have, you know, I've poured my heart and soul into this place to try and bring it up to where I feel like it needs to be, and to see everything that's going on and all the recognition that OVW is getting, you know, that makes me feel pretty good, you know, to be a part of that. Because I always said from the very get-go in wrestling, I just wanted to be a part of something great. You know, a lot of guys, hey, I want to go wrestle for WWE. I want to go do this. I want to wrestle on the bigger stage. Yeah, I had those aspirations. But at the same time, you know, why do you want to go there? Do you want to go there because you want to be on a national stage? Do you want to go there because of all the people? Well, I mean, look at what we have now. We are a national stage. We have, you know, we're out. We're a national company now, and I say it to this day, I would much rather come in and be in on the ground floor of something as opposed to going and working for somebody that's already there. I would rather bring something up as opposed to being a part of something and getting lost in the mix.
Well, so, and here you are.
Yeah.
Well, here we are. I say that about everybody. Here we are.
There was, you know, obviously there's the big Netflix series Wrestlers.
Yeah.
And you're kind of, much like you are here at OVW, an emotional centerpiece of that. We see your family life, your kids. You have your kids' names tattooed on you. You hit the 2 names every single time you come out to the ring.
Absolutely.
There's one, you've been asked about wrestlers, I'm sure, till you're blue in the face, but I wanted to ask about something kind of a little more specific. There was a night towards the end of the Legacy.
I'm not going to show you my ass.
No, trust me, I saw it enough. There was a night toward kind of the end of the Legacy brutality, after you guys had been kind of started being received as good guys, where I've been coming to shows on Saturday nights pretty much every month, and you, for the first time, had your family behind your stand. And when me and my friends walked in, we said, oh, he's going to win the championship tonight. Because you ended up winning the championship tonight, and I had noticed that your kids, your family weren't here or at least present out, that I noticed them all the time. How important was it to have your family there when you won the national championship? This would have been 2021.
That kind of support is very important. How important was it to see them here that night on my first OVW championship? Because I believe that was my first OVW championship.
According to Cage Match, I think it was.
Any accomplishments that any big time accomplishments that I can take with me, you know, of course, you know, your family being there is something that you'll always cherish. Now, whether or not that, you know, we talk about that stuff at home, you know, my wife and my kids, or whether they even remember that, you know, that's not really the thing. Just as long as I know the first time I won an OVW championship, that my wife was there, cheered me on, you know, that makes me feel good. That gives you all the bubble guts inside.
It really was. It really was kind of a beautiful moment. I remember where I was sitting. I was sitting right over there. Sitting right over there, and your family was here after the end of the match. It was really a beautiful moment. And like, sometimes it can be so easy for people on the outside of wrestling to say, oh, well, you know, it's this or that or the other. That's wrestling.
Well, let me ask you this, Jackman. Do you really think that I was told ahead of time that I was going to win and to make sure and bring my family?
I assume so, but I have a feeling you're gonna tell me no.
That is absolutely not the case. That was a time, I think, because at that time, she was coming to more shows, and we weren't doing a whole lot of big numbers as far as people in here. And it was a big show, and my wife wanted to come and watch the show and see me wrestle because she enjoys watching me wrestle. And she just happened to say, hey, it's going to be a good show, you know. Well, how about we come out and watch? I said, yeah, it'll be a good show. But she also knew, I think that was that the Chain Carnage match?
I think it was. It had to have been in like March or April of that year. So
Yeah.
that sounds about right.
So I mean, it was a big show, and quite honestly, at that time, we were still struggling to get good numbers in here and stuff like that. So it was a big show, and she just wanted to come. I had no idea that I was gonna win because, quite honestly, I don't. I don't. Well, hey, I won't say that. I don't know until I get here. What's going on. I mean, it's wrestling.
I mean, for frame of reference, we told you about a show that you are going to be on that you didn't know was announced just 15 or 20 minutes ago. So
that's
yeah,
true too,
it's not that you don't. You obviously very care about wrestling a lot.
Yeah.
But it seems like some of the minor details. You're like, I know I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that is true. Yeah, you all knew about the new Manchester February 23rd coming up. So yeah.
Brian?
Gosh, at first, I really just want to say thank you so much for making this possible today.
No, I'm not chopping you, Brian.
No, not today. At some point, but not today. It really just means a lot for us to be able to be here and to be able to sit down and talk with you. And what was it that got you into wrestling in the first place?
Oh man, just like anybody.
Because I know what it was for me.
Yeah.
It was, the advent of WrestleMania right after Hulk Hogan won the title.
For me, it was a little earlier than that. Like I said, I was a Southern wrestling guy, so I enjoyed Florida Championship Wrestling. I enjoyed Mid-South Wrestling, Memphis Wrestling. I did not start watching Northern Wrestling other than Vern Gagne and the AWA. I didn't start watching Northern Wrestling until about the age of Raw. Okay. In the early 90s. I was predominantly Starrcade, World Championship Wrestling, NWA, Southern Wrestling, Florida Championship Wrestling, a little bit of stuff in Japan because that's in Puerto Rico because that's the only place you could find like Bruiser Brody and Stan Hansen and those guys tearing stuff up. So, I was a big Dusty and Wahoo and Manny Fernandez. I was huge fans of those guys. Michael Hayes and the Freebirds and,
Yes.
I just, I was a Southern wrestling fan and Northern wrestling just didn't do it for me until a spectacle of
So
Raw and stuff.
You probably grew up on the Andy Kaufman, Jerry Lawler feud.
Oh, absolutely. One of the greatest feuds ever.
See, yeah,
One
we
of
were
the
just talking about that
greatest
the other
feuds
day. His birthday was earlier this past week.
Yeah.
Been a big fan for several years and loved how he just drew the heat, like crazy heat.
Andy Kaufman was one of a kind, and as a wrestler, I appreciate all the mainstream stuff that Andy Kaufman brought to the professional wrestling game.
Right.
What him and Lawler did together was at that time unheard of, and it's pretty awesome. It made me a believer, and I was already a wrestling fan. So
Yeah, I didn't see those channels growing up.
Oh yeah.
I just saw the NWA and WWF back then, but I saw the slap on Letterman.
Oh yeah.
And just could not believe my eyes. He slapped him right out of that chair. And for years, I thought, these guys really hated each other.
It was real. It
Yeah.
real GN, didn't it?
Yeah, sure did.
And that's what pro wrestling is.
Yeah.
That's what pro wrestling
You
is.
keep coming back to Southern wrestling. You mentioned the word real. That commitment to reality that Southern wrestling is so known for. How much of that carries over into how you wrestle today?
All of it. And realism is hard to come by. Everybody, let's be honest, everybody knows what pro wrestling is.
Have known for a long time.
And yeah, I have known for a long time. And if you can master the art of the connection and pulling, just giving that little sliver of a doubt, then you've got it licked. And no matter what you do in the ring, if you can cause that little doubt, no matter what you do, wrestling fans will get behind you and believe. And anything that you do. It's just the way it goes.
What's your favorite match you've had at OVW?
At OVW,
Give me OVW and then give me all time.
at OVW, my favorite match. I have a lot. I can't really pin that down, Jackman. Honestly, I've had a lot of really good, fun, hard hitting. As a guy that's been around, the fan reactions are what makes the best matches.
Mm-hmm.
The fan reactions, and the fan reactions here at OVW are, I don't know. I don't know if they can get any higher. I feel like there are times that the roof blows off this place. I feel like at Christmas Chaos when me and Shiro won those tag team championships.
Golly.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were going to have a roof left. I mean, it just depends on as far as people that I've wrestled everybody, and I have special moments wrestling with everybody. So I can't really tell you a specific favorite. I could tell you what a favorite would be if the time came.
What would it be?
That sounds interesting.
You all really don't know.
You
really can't.
I want to hear it. I want to hear it from your mouth.
You want to hear it from my mouth. So you do know.
No. I've just
If ever Al Snow felt the need to get back in a ring again,
one more.
Yeah.
I would love that.
This
That
place would
be,
lose it.
You think so?
Yeah.
God, yeah. At Christmas
would-
Place would
Chaos,
lose it.
the crowd lost their shit when you guys won.
They do.
And that was by far the biggest pop of the night. I can only imagine what it would be like if Al jumped in the ring with you guys in some program or some kind
It
of
would
capacity.
It would be pretty awesome. That would be bucket list stuff.
Sure.
But on a side note, you said outside of OVW, I have actually been in a tag match against Al Snow.
Really?
And
Wow.
it was pretty amazing. I had a good time. He was tagging up in Wisconsin with a CBS News anchor up there, and it was when I was tagging with Little Dimes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And we were
yeah.
doing the bankroll thing, and we had actually there was another tag team from up there. I can't remember their names, but and we were actually in a 3-way match, and I got to tussle around a little bit with Al Snow. It was pretty cool. It was at a fireman's picnic up there for Dave Hero, so it was pretty awesome.
That would have been my guess.
Yeah, we've heard a lot about Dave Hero.
Yeah.
Dave
Got to talk
Hero
to him
is
just a little bit.
he's a good dude.
He's a
He
good
is.
dude.
Yeah.
He
Very friendly guy.
loves his son, and he's a good dude. Been around a long time.
So you've got almost 30 years in the business.
Mm-hmm.
What's the furthest you've ever traveled for one show?
Oh, honey. Yeah, Oregon. A couple reservations in Washington State.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
I tried to
Beautiful up
go to Toronto, Canada, not too long ago, but Canada didn't want me in, so they didn't let me in. Yeah.
Do you mind if I
Probably.
ask what it's like wrestling on a reservation?
It's no different. It's just there's no athletic commission. A reservation is they have their own government.
Yeah.
Washington is it's a high. Their athletic commission there was extremely expensive and very hard to get licensed for wrestling and promoting in there. So all the guys there that run around the roads, they would go wrestle on the reservations and stuff. So
You might have a little bit of insight into this too. It was kind of difficult for professional wrestling to exist in Kentucky until not that long ago.
not really. Not under a athletic commission. It was really easy when back in 1995, 96, 97, there was an athletic commission, but it didn't matter.
Right.
You could do whatever you wanted. You could bleed. You could do whatever you wanted. It wasn't until said Fed that we had talked about earlier, kind of threw the rule book out the window and told the athletic commissioner at that time, his name was Jack Kern, told him to go sit on an egg, in a roundabout sort of way.
Sure.
Sit on the hot seat.
Yes, yeah. And that's when they kind of cracked down, hammered down. It took about I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years maybe, and then they really started squeezing the goose, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, and it's never been really hard to run a wrestling show in the state of Kentucky. I mean, you have to have a promoter's license. You have to have a wrestling license. If you're going to be within a barrier, there's a 6-foot barrier. If you want to be within the barrier, you have to have an event staff if you're not going to do anything. I mean, it's not hard if you follow the rules. But see, I like those rules because those rules also keep the jokers out.
Right.
There's a lot of play wrestlers out there. And, if you have some semblance of rules, at least they have to work to be a joker. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So it kind of deters some of the BS.
Well, and that's something that Al touched on when we interviewed him, and he's touched on that in tons of other interviews.
Yeah.
That OVW tries to play, do it the quote unquote right way.
Absolutely.
We want you to be in shape. We want you to have the financial, classes. We want you to have the nutritional classes.
Absolutely.
We want you to be not a wrestler. We want you to be this whole full formed individual.
Mm-hmm.
How important do you think that is for young wrestlers to learn, especially because that wasn't the case when you broke in?
That's one of those lessons and that's part of why when Al said he had an opportunity for me, so many years ago, that was part of why I kind of jumped on it. It's because of the mistakes that or what I had to go through.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely important because make no mistake about it, professional wrestling it will kick the shit out of you. It will beat you up. It will grind you mentally and physically till you don't have anything left. And the only way to combat that is by keeping your mind and your body as sharp as possible. Because I was always told in professional wrestling that longevity is the key. Okay? By default, more people are going to know who you are. You're going to be exposed to many more people, many more fans. You're going to be able to run many different roads. And the only way that you can do that is if you're still around.
Right.
If you have your wits about you. So, it's extremely important. And, I'm glad that OVW has taken the steps to be able to offer all that in the trade school. And I'm actually stoked to be a part of the trade school too. I mean, it's amazing. It's an amazing thing to have that. I would have never thought that 25, 26, 27 years ago when I broke in, that something like that would be available to guys coming in.
It's an incredible amount of foresight on OVW and Al's part to kind of look at this. He talks about everything being a business. Where do you learn to go do your business well? You go to school.
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
And that seems to be the thing nowadays. And yeah, for Al and him to put that out there, and Al's he's an extremely intelligent guy, man.
Do you think that the OVW model of a trade school could be replicated elsewhere?
Probably not. Only because of the resources that OVW has and what they have. Their 20+ year television run and stuff like that. I think the only way it could be replicated would be from a place that had a similar pedigree.
And there's not a lot.
No, there's not. There's really only one or two.
Yeah.
And those guys make billions of dollars and probably don't
care.
a particular trade school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the only way another place could replicate that is if they have the pedigree that OVW has, because part of that pedigree, and that's the way it is with wrestling anyway, that pedigree is really what sells that trade school.
Yeah.
So
what does OVW mean to you?
It's it's a lot of things. OVW wears a lot of hats. First and foremost, it's somewhere that I never thought. I never in a million years before I got here thought that I would be here. Just because of where I come.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought that I would get the opportunity to be mentored by Al Snow. Like I said, the things that brought me to where I got started in wrestling is a place that guy started.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fan guy, moment to be able to work.
Sure.
I never thought I would meet some of the guys that I've been able to meet, do the things that I've been able to do. OVW wears a lot of hats, for me. It helps pay my bills.
Yeah.
Sure.
It helps me regurgitate all the quote unquote useless crap that my wife says, all the useless crap that I've learned over the years, for wrestling or whatever. It helps me regurgitate that and get that out, and it keeps me fresh. It gives me a place that I can come work. I mean, like I said, it is a lot. To say OVW is my life is not really accurate, but there is, part of my life. OVW is part of my life. Of course, the other part is my wife and children, but where I work and where I spend my time and where I make my money and where I do all my stuff is OVW, and that's that.
Cash, I want to thank you for hanging out with us today. I want to thank your beautiful,
Jack.
wonderful wife for hanging out with us today as well.
Absolutely, brother.
Thank you so much, man. This has been awesome.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, fellas.
Thank you.
And I'm not chopping you, Brian. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Cash.
Yeah, absolutely, guys.